Today I am here to talk about the honest truths of breastfeeding. While I was pregnant, I was really not looking forward to breastfeeding. I know that probably sounds horrible because so many women out there do really look forward to it. I'm not a total prude, but to be honest, the thought of always having my boob out feeding my child was just so foreign that I really didn't know how to wrap my head around it. I do want to preface this by saying I am not a professional lactation consultant. I am not a nurse. I have literally zero professional expertise to base anything that I am saying on. I am merely a mom who has been breastfeeding for the first time for the past 4 or 5 months. And these are really just some things that I have learned that I didn't really know when I got into this whole thing, and I wanted to share them, and hopefully they will be of some help to you. If not a problem. So a really big thing that you want to establish as soon as you can in your breastfeeding journey is a good latch. The idea of a good latch is that you want to get baby to open his or her mouth wide enough that you can really shove your boob in there and she has like a mouthful of boob. So the best way to get baby to open her mouth is to take your nipple and just rub it up against her top lip or tickle her nose, and that'll usually give her the encouragement to open it up, and you can pop your boob right in there. If you do run into troubles with your nipple cracking or you do damage to it, I highly encourage you to get some nipple cream. There's two that I use. There's the one that has the purple packaging, and I can't even remember what it's called, and I actually found that one really helpful. I'll link it below. The other one that I used is the Medela Tender Care, and this one was good. I did prefer I think it's called the Lanolin brand. I don't know. A good tip for that is to put about a pea-sized amount of the cream on your nipple and then take a small square of cling wrap or saran wrap and put that over the nipple before you put on your breast pad or your bra or top. And that's gonna stop the fabric from your top absorbing all the cream, and it'll encourage the cream to actually be absorbed into the nipple to lubricate it, protect it, and hopefully help you heal sooner. Okay, my next truth about breastfeeding is that you will be breastfeeding more than you ever expected. Babies can take a long time to feed. They are very sleepy, and I know with Ren especially, one feed could take anywhere from half an hour to an hour. So if you're taking an hour to feed and you're feeding every 2 or 3 hours, you will feel like you are feeding around the clock. A big thing to remember is this period of time will not last forever. Baby will get so much more efficient at breastfeeding, and feedings will become quicker, and there will also be longer periods of time between feeding as he or she gets older. So you will not always be feeding as much as you are in the initial kind of weeks. I would say after you get to about the 4 or 6 week mark, it really does change. It all becomes so much smoother and more natural for both of you. So a tip I would say is if you have a subscription to something like Netflix, find a show that already has like 6 seasons on it. When you start feeding your baby, start watching your show. You will be glued to the couch those first few weeks, or your glider, whatever. What, Pumpkin? What? Who's that? Who's that pretty girl? So if you find that your baby is having a really hard time staying awake during those early weeks of feeding, there are some things you can do to help encourage them to stay awake and focus on feeding. Some of the things you can do are, while baby is feeding, just take her hand, give it a squeeze. Just that little bit of pressure is gonna help her stay awake. Another thing I did was I would kind of tug on her ear or just tickle her ear a little bit. And then if you really find that your baby will not stay awake for feedings, one thing that my midwife recommended that we did, which seems a little bit cruel, but it does work, is to strip your baby down to just his or her diaper and take a cool face cloth. And as they're starting to drift to sleep, just take that cool face cloth and just gently put it on their back of their neck or their arm. It just gives them that little kind of push to stay awake. And that is really what we had to do with Ren every time we fed her for the first few weeks, because she did not want to stay awake. So ladies, you thought you were hungry during pregnancy. Let me tell you, when you are nursing, you're gonna be famished. At least I was. So another big tip that I would recommend doing is setting up nursing stations around your home or in the places that you would commonly nurse. For those nursing stations, I would recommend having closed bottles of water. Leave one on the couch, leave one by your glider, by your bed. Have a little Ziploc full of almonds or granola bars, something like that, something that's easy and quick to grab and you can kind of leave, so that if you are in a pinch and stuck under a feeding or sleeping baby, they are within arm's reach. Bake a few batches of something like, I think I did whole wheat banana chocolate chip muffins, and freeze them. And these were such a lifesaver for me because whether it was 3 a.m. or 2 in the afternoon, they always tasted good and they were nutritious and filling and really were able to just take the edge off that hunger. You have so much extra fluid that is leaving your body. It's so important that you stay hydrated because it's gonna help your milk supply, and obviously it's gonna, you know, be better for baby if you're hydrated, especially if you're sleep deprived. You do not want to add dehydration on top of that, so drink your water. Okay, every pregnancy is different, every woman is different, and every woman's milk supply is different. And this is something that I did not realize until it actually came to me breastfeeding. It is so different for every woman, and I feel that I produce enough milk for Ren's needs. So it's very much a supply and demand situation. And there are things you can do to increase your milk supply if you need. There's a whole bunch of supplements you can take. There's teas you can buy. I don't really know if any of those work because personally I haven't really tried them. The biggest thing that I find if I want to increase my milk supply is to pump. If you're planning to pump, invest in a good pump. They can be a lot of money. I actually got my pump secondhand on garage sale. And when I first thought about doing this, I thought it was totally disgusting. But to be honest, you can replace all of the parts that are actually touching your body. What you're really paying for is the pump itself. What I noticed when I started pumping regularly is that it does massively impact your milk supply because the supply is there to meet the demand. Because I'm asking more from them, they deliver more for me. Something to note about bottle feeding. I have heard from a number of women that they don't want to introduce the bottle too early because they don't want to have that nipple confusion. I was really worried about baby not taking bottle, so it was something that I introduced within the first week. There's nothing wrong with giving your baby a bottle early, but it is encouraged that you ensure that you do have that proper latch before you give baby a bottle, and this is to help prevent against nipple confusion. We were recommended to try these Dr. Brown bottles. I talked about them in What's in My Diaper Bag, which I will link below. But basically, these have a flow system in them that helps baby basically not get overwhelmed with milk, and they're able to suck back what they need. These work great. They're also a glass bottle, which to me feels a little bit more hygienic and easier to clean. So I would highly recommend those, but what I would say is just try out different bottles, try out different nipples, see what works best for how your baby wants to feed. Another thing that I have found that works really well for encouraging milk supply to increase is a good stout. So if you are a beer drinker and you enjoy a darker stout beer, I find that when I have one of these, the next day my milk supply is way up. So, you know, oatmeal works too, but if you are a stout drinker, indulge. I know there's a whole bunch of products that you can buy to help sanitize your nipples and your bottles and things like that, but basically we live in a small space and I didn't really want another big counter object or something else that I had to store or put in the microwave to sanitize my bottles. And I also didn't want to rely solely on the kind of old-fashioned way of boiling everything. So I bought the Medela sanitizer bags, and these are actually really great because all you have to do is pop the items in that you're sanitizing, put in, I believe it's 1/8 or 1/4 of water, it says on the back, pop it in the microwave for the recommended time in terms of the voltage of your microwave, pull everything out, I put it on the boon, and it's sanitized and ready to go. Each bag works for 20 times, and there's 5 bags in a pack. And I think it was only about $15 Canadian. These are great if you're just looking for a space-saving option, but you obviously still want to have a efficient way to sanitize your baby's bottles and nipples and whatnot. So as somebody who was not super eager to breastfeed, I have found that it's actually been, surprisingly, more enjoyable than I thought. Yes, those early days were weird and confusing, and I didn't know if I was doing it right, and I was always worried that baby was getting enough food. You know, we kept at it, and it really did get to a place that it was so easy. I remember thinking as baby was gnawing on my nipple, and it was literally hurting so bad. Every time that she latched on, I would like scrunch my face up and dig my toes into the ground because it was so painful. And I thought, this is never going to feel good. This is never gonna feel natural. Let me tell you, it will get to a point where it becomes second nature. Your baby's gonna learn a lot and she's gonna be able to feed more independently. You're not gonna always be needing to wake her up or help her along. And you will also become more accustomed to it and more comfortable with it. If you are struggling with nursing and it's not coming naturally, there are things you can do. Speak to a lactation consultant and they can provide, you know, their actual expertise, not just things they've picked up along the way. They have training, they have really solid advice to give you. But if you find that you just can't do it and it's not working for you, please do not feel guilty. There is absolutely nothing wrong with pumping and bottle feeding your baby or feeding your baby formula. They will grow, they will flourish. It's absolutely fine. The most important thing is that your baby is getting the nutrients they need to grow. Right, guys, so these are my tips. Please take it with a grain of salt in that I am not an expert. These are just things that I have kind of come to realize, tips that I've picked up along the way. I just hope that these tips are helpful. Please comment below if you found them helpful or if you have run into problems and have been able to address them. I would love to hear. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are interested in seeing more baby videos, day in the life type of stuff. I do DIYs, all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that you're interested, yeah, give it a subscribe and click the little bell if you want to be notified when I add a new video. But other than that, I just wish you all the best and have a great day, guys.